Hocus Pocus. I'm reviewing this movie because this weekend on Disney Plus, Hocus Pocus 2 comes out, and I want to share a little backstory with this movie. So, I probably saw this movie like 8 or 9. I don't know. This was probably about 10 years ago, and I didn't even watch the whole movie. I saw a little bit on ABC, and I was like, "What's this kind of fun movie?" And ABC is owned by Disney, so it makes sense it would air on that. I never realized that, but yeah, I saw this movie, or at least bits and pieces of it at the end with the zombie. What's his name, Billy? And them killing the Sanderson sisters at the end or whatever. So yeah, I kind of was interested in this movie. I think my dad bought it or something like that on Blu-ray a few years ago. We watched it, and it's become a Halloween movie we watch every year. Now, when I watched it the first time, I had no idea this was an insane classic. Here's the thing about this movie. This movie flopped at the box office. And now it's a pop culture phenomenon. The teaser trailer for this movie, no joke, got more views than the Doctor Strange, any of the trailers for that movie. It has a sequel book. You can buy a spell book. There's so much merchandise of this movie. It's kind of absurd. And this movie feels like a Christmas story a little bit, where this should have stayed that quaint little holiday movie that everybody kind of enjoyed without it blowing up into this crazy phenomenon. But this one's a little less annoying than a Christmas Story. Christmas Story, you should see some of the merchandise they put out. It's really weird. Like, they have all these weird quotes from the movie that are really funny in the movie, but why would you want a mug that says some of the half of the shit that they say? I don't know. But yeah, I kind of grew a little bit of annoyance with this movie because the reaction to this movie is annoying. I hated for years when I was in school. Halloween time came, and if any teacher was gonna show a movie, they're gonna show Hocus Pocus and be like, "Oh my gosh, I love this movie," and it just got annoying. And I think this movie is definitely overplayed. It's not a bad movie, don't get me wrong, but like, this is the most generic holiday movie to play during Halloween. Like, literally the most. It's kind of funny because, like, Halloween, the movie Halloween, literally titled Halloween, is not played as much during Halloween as Hocus Pocus is. It's absolutely insane. But I like this. I do. I've grown kind of a soft spot for it. About the 4K. I watched it in 4K, and I gotta say, if you don't have the 4K, it's been like $13-14 on most websites recently. Probably on sale because the sequel is coming out. Looks fantastic. I was surprised how great it looked. I've never seen the movie look this great, actually. A lot of Disney 4Ks are not great because they just they're lazy with them, but this one actually was a much needed upgrade. But let's actually get into the movie, I guess. So I can kind of see why this movie flopped when it came out, because this movie, for the most part, is kind of generic. So, like, the worst part about this movie is Max and his sister and his love interest. First of all, so Max is just the generic kid who moves to a new town, and he hates it. And he wants to move back to his place. He really doesn't have a character, and so it makes him the worst part of the movie. His sister was just there because this is a Disney movie, and they probably wanted a cute kid, and you definitely needed a kid because it's Halloween. You gotta have a little girl in a costume, and if you want to start a teenager, you can't really do that. But she wasn't kind of irritating. His love interest in the movie, Max's love interest, has no personality. Is it Max? Is Max the cat or the kid? I forget. I'm screwing it up. But anyways, his love interest in the movie is awful. She has no chemistry with him. They're just kind of girl and guy. It's like, it literally starts in the movie, and she responds something that, like, really snooty to him, and then that kind of starts their hookup thing, and it's just dumb. And so, but here's the thing. None of that matters, because no one watches the movie for these main characters. But I'm saying all this because it is A, it's the weakest part of the movie. B, and I think the sequel might improve upon this, the characters. But B, it's kind of explains why it flopped. I mean, these are really generic. Seems really generic, but why everybody watches this movie is the Sanderson sisters, Sarah Jessica Parker, Bette Midler, and I forget the other one's name, but they all do excellent jobs as these characters. They are so into their characters that this was a real story that was being reported for a while, that Bette Midler literally went on social media and explained the reason they never made a Hocus Pocus 2 is because they're having trouble finding another virgin. So, they're so in tune with these characters and have so much fun with these characters. They like this. And so that's why everybody's excited for the second one, is because they want to see these characters again. It's really just these three characters that become holiday icons. They're just such great characters, and I do really like the story with the cat. Having to deal with death and loss, because this is something I appreciate when I reviewed Casper a few years ago, the '90s movie. I really appreciate touching upon death in a kids movie, because not a lot of things do it. It's not done amazingly well in that Casper movie, and neither is it done here, but it's done well enough, and I just appreciate that being a thing that's touched upon. That he doesn't find some way for him and his family to come back at the end, it being a Disney movie. So that's just kind of nice. And yeah, I mean, this movie has some cool practical effects, especially with the zombie Billy. And it is fun to see it set on Halloween, and there's a lot of goofy. This is kind of a campy movie too, with the way the Sanders sisters play it up. The scene where they go into the dude's house and the devil. So this is a fun movie. So I'm not like a hater of this movie. I do like this movie, and I get why people watch it on Halloween all the time. I just think there's some times where we collectively as a society all love a movie, and it just gets overplayed to where it can almost make you hate a movie. And I think that's something that is really bad. But I think people really need to stop with the it's overhyped kind of criticism, because if you don't like something because it's overhyped, it's kind of like, well, that's not a real criticism. I mean, yes, there is an issue with things being overhyped and overly played. I get that, and I'm addressing that in this video, right? But I think that when we criticize things, we need to be more articulate with our points. Why is it overhyped? And I think for me, it's the fact that a lot of this movie is so generic, besides the fact that these witches are fun characters and you love seeing them. Also, there are better movies to watch during Halloween and stuff like that. So, this is a good movie, but not great. Doesn't matter, because it's still a classic, and we're all going to watch it every year. But I just think that, I've really grown to appreciate it, honestly. And I think that's something we all should do a little bit more. I think we can all grow to appreciate this movie a little bit, be critical where we need to be. And I'm excited for the sequel. I'm going to attempt to have a review out for the sequel book that they made a few years back, later on this week. I don't know if I'll have that video out in time, but if I don't, oh well, not a big deal. At least I have a review for the first one, because this is really the review that matters.